Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to assemble a cadre of writers, thinkers, and teachers who are transforming the world one character at a time. And it all starts with one thing: a deep understanding of human motivation, why people do what they do, and the forces that drive them. To gain that understanding, I am mining the intersection of psychology, theology, and philosophy to make you a better writer. This is episode 41, Naming Your Traits. What's the issue? For the past several days, we've been gathering a collection of little stories about our lives that we've been writing on 4x6 note cards. And the stories have been descriptive of character traits. And I told you at the time, just label the stories with where the trait falls on your level of awareness. And as you will recall, we started with the base traits, and then we talked about anchor traits and wing traits and rudder traits and pinnacle traits. We had 5 in all. So, and I told you at the time that we will name the character traits later on. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to get a good start on that. And we're going to be taking your story cards and dividing them up basically into 4 piles based on what is this character trait about? What is the issue that is being described in the character trait that goes along with your story? So let's take a look at the 4 groups. And if you have something that you don't think fits into one of these 4, let me know, because I bet you will find that your story will fit into one of these 4 groups. So let's take a look at the 4 groups and see if they do not, in fact, cover the possibilities. So the first group that we will take a look at is the group where the issue lies in the physical world. It's a problem that's outside of yourself, and it has to do with the environment or a struggle that you face or a challenge or a difficulty, something that is outside yourself and is not about a relationship with another person, because that's in another group. So this is outside yourself and relates to the physical world. So for your stack of cards, for each of your stories where your character trait has to do with the external physical world, those traits belong to a group that's called the resilience group. And so you can begin to name your character trait with the group. We won't stop there. We will go from group to subgroup all the way down to the individual character trait. But tonight, we're just dividing the character traits up into 4 different groups. So, for all of your character traits now that were not a part of the external physical world, let's see how many belong to the next group. The next group has to do with managing oneself and assessing oneself, coming to a correct judgment about oneself, a correct self-image, an accurate self-image. And the other part of this is managing yourself. How well do you do what you say you plan to do? How well do you get along with yourself? Because the one relationship that you will have from birth to death is your relationship with yourself. So does your character trait have to do with your relationship with yourself? If so, that character trait belongs to the balance group. And I would want you to put the word balance on your card, the group is balance. We'll later look at the subgroups in balance and the individual character traits in each subgroup. So we have 2. Now, let's take a look at another possibility. Does your issue have to do with observations and awareness, with wisdom, with intelligence, with things that go on in your own head, in your own ability to effectively reason? It's still within yourself, but it's not managing your behavior. It's not judging yourself correctly. It's coming to correct judgments when you think about a problem and being able to make a good quality plan. Wisdom does a pretty good job of summing that up. So for any of your character trait stories that have to do with whether or not you're strong on coming to good judgments about situations and having the good ability to assess all of the factors, then label that one insight, because that means that trait belongs to the insight group. The 4th group of character traits that we're going to take a look at has to do with navigating relationships. So much of our life we live in relationship. We evolved to be people who lived in relationship at a time when if you were cast out of your group, it would mean almost certain death. No one individual could survive. It's arguably very difficult even now because of the loneliness factor for an individual to survive as a person who doesn't have close, tight relationships. So relationships will turn out to be a very, very, very large group of traits. So for each one of your stories where the whole issue is about a relationship, then label those traits empathy, because those traits will fall under the empathy group. Well, now each one of your character traits from all the stories we've been doing these past several days should all have group names now. Anything get missed? If it did, leave me a note in the comment section, because I would love to hear about it. If there is something that was going on in one of your character traits that didn't fit in one of these 4 categories, because I'll bet you that they'll all fit in one of those categories. So join me tomorrow and we will begin to break these down into subgroups. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.